What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Mock Draft 5.0. For the first time, we will have the second round included, which I am very excited about. A reminder, this is a what I would do mock draft. The reality is, even guys like Mel Kiper, Matt Miller, who are more plugged into the NFL than anyone out there, will still only get 5 picks or so right. So I can only tell you what I would do if I were in the seat of every GM chair based off my own draft board. So this is a what I would do mock draft. There will be trades. Then just a couple quick reminders. Please, guys, do hit that like button if you enjoy. Even if you would have gone a different direction with your pick, it is the easiest way to grow the video and support the channel. Also, if you want access to all of my grades on these players, a full draft board, film breakdowns, you can get it on my Patreon, link in the description. And if you're shopping for tickets this spring, use promo code FranchiseGuy on SeatGeek and you'll save $20 on your first purchase. So without further ado, let's get into it here. Now, because we have 2 rounds here, if I have repeats from Mock 4.0, I may cut down on the breakdowns just a little bit to get this thing moving. If you want to get more in-depth breakdowns on that pick, do go back and watch that pick in Draft 4.0. So number 1, Arizona, Kyler Murray here. This has been the pick since January. I don't think Josh Rosen's a bust, but I do think he will bust if he stays in Arizona. They just don't have an offensive line. They don't have wide receivers. Kyler Murray, a better quarterback prospect overall, but because of that mobility, can create with his feet, can create some offense where I don't think Josh Rosen can. I think Arizona will be much better suited with Kyler Murray, and I think the people in that division will not like the fact that they make this move. Number 2, San Francisco, Nick Bosa falling into their laps. No explanation needed here, setting up an elite defensive line moving forward. Number 3, the New York Jets. Would think about trading down here, but Quinnen Williams, I think, a little too good of a player to pass up here. You stack up the Williams brothers up front there with Leonard Williams. You put Henry Anderson and McClendon into rotational roles there, and you get a true identity up front there, one of the best D-lines in the NFL. Number 4, the Oakland Raiders. Now, I keep trading down out of this pick, and I'm going to do it again. Ed Oliver would be the best player on my board here, but actually interior defensive line is the one thing Oakland might have on that defense, and the value from really 5 to 10 here as far as my draft board is concerned is about the same. So for a team that has as many holes as they do, if you can pick up some picks, you got to do it. Even if it's just a 3rd round pick here from the New York Giants, who are going to come up and take Dwayne Haskins. Now, I've been saying that they should wait for next year, but the truth is, Tua, Fromm, Easton, Herbert, there's no guarantee that any of these guys are going to be better prospects even than Dwayne Haskins, and I honestly think they're all going to be pretty close. I'm not a big Tua guy myself. And after seeing that Eli Manning was actually the 38th most pressured quarterback in the NFL last year, I'm a little more confident in what this surrounding core has to offer with Saquon Barkley and still a good group of receivers even after trading away Odell Beckham. So I actually really like the idea of taking the quarterback now. Haskins is by no means a bad prospect, and you can put him in there and sit behind Eli for a little bit and actually start to have a plan here for the future, as opposed to waiting a year, not knowing when you're going to pick, thinking a year ahead like that. It's just not what you want to do as an NFL team. Teams win 8-9 games all the time by accident in the NFL. So if that happened in New York, they'd be even more screwed next year. Just go get the quarterback right now. It's only going to cost them a 3rd round pick as well to move up really just a spot here. So then Tampa Bay at number 5. Everyone loves Josh Allen here. I've gone on a diatribe in my last mock about why I think Josh Allen is a little overrated. Yes, he would be a scheme fit here in this 3-4 defense, but he's a guy like Anthony Barr, like Hassan Reddick, who I personally think his sack numbers in college lie a little bit, and that he actually has more appealing traits as an off-ball linebacker at the moment. So the value here is not Josh Allen for me. But the other thing is Tampa Bay, a desperate need here at corner. So we're going to take Byron Murphy. I actually think that Greedy Williams has a higher upside, but I am much more confident in Byron Murphy to be an impact defender right away. Tampa Bay is just desperate at this position. I can't believe, though, there are Bucs fans that said that they don't need a corner. That's like me going to the grocery store wanting to make French soup tomorrow, getting 2 onions that end up going bad, and then using those bad onions to make the French soup instead of, going to buy more onions. Like, just take another corner Corner is too important of a position to sit around and wait on Carlton Davis, who I thought was an absolute reach last year to become a good corner. Number 6, Oakland, who moved down here. We're going to grab Devin White. You're going to get an elite sideline-to-sideline defender. You get some much-needed speed on that defense. I know they signed some linebackers in free agency, but veteran guys that you're not really counting on long-term. This is going to give this team an elite presence over the middle of the field, can cover, can just shut down all of the annoying screens and outside runs and RPOs, all of that stuff. He's going to be a plus defender in that regard. And this is why you trade down if you're Oakland, because this is a player that you'd probably be okay taking at 4, but you move down and you still get the guy. Number 7, Jacksonville, Jonah Williams, sticking with this. I think Jonah Williams is going to be one of the better picks in this draft, whoever ends up getting him. I think he's just a little underrated. Versatile piece, can play tackle, can play guard. If watching Nick Foles in Philadelphia taught us anything, it's that you need to buy him time that I don't think the current state of the Jags line can do. Also, Jonah Williams, a fantastic run blocker. We know this team wants to run the ball and play defense, so you get an excellent fit and player here for Jacksonville at 7. Number 8, we are sticking with Rashan Gary to the Detroit Lions. I think I've lost a lot of Lions fans by staying true to this. A lot of people that watched him at Michigan never quite reached his potential, but he's still just 21 years old. Absolute freak athlete. I actually love Rashan Gary in the right scheme fit, and this is absolutely the right fit. Yes, you brought in Trey Flowers. Look, Detroit was the worst team, last in the NFL at pressuring the quarterback last year. Yeah, you've got great interior guys, but you need an edge presence as well. Rashan Gary has the potential to be a Brandon Graham type of presence opposite of Trey Flowers here, and it gives this defense a true identity to build around, which you really cannot say enough about, and they desperately need another edge guy, because I really don't think you're counting on Romeo Okwara to be that guy for this year or the future. Pick number 9. Rushing this pick up to the podium, the Buffalo Bills, Ed Oliver. Yeah, they need some help on the offensive side of the ball, but Ed Oliver, my 3rd rated player in this class, an elite interior defensive line prospect. They need someone to replace Kyle Williams, and they're going to get it here in Ed Oliver. And then you're just going to pop champagne and wait for the 2nd round because you just nailed the 1st. Pick number 10 here, the Denver Broncos. After getting Jawaan James in free agency, tackle no longer a pressing need. Devin White is gone. I just think trading down is going to be a good move here for Denver. And the team that's going to move up here, actually a bit of a surprise, the New York Giants. They made a move already to go and get Dwayne Haskins, but this is a team that has collected some draft capital, trading away some players. They need to regain talent, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So we're going to move up, giving a 3rd round pick that they got for Odell Beckham. They're going to move their 2024 as well, and pick 17, of course, to move up here, and they're going to take Josh Allen, a guy who I have talked down a little bit, but I still think is a great player, has upside of an elite pass rusher. I don't think he's this Khalil Mack type prospect. I think he's excellent in coverage as an edge player and has all the physical tools to develop into an elite pass rusher, but I do not see him as a top 5 pick. We'll see how it plays out on draft day. But New York is going to get a very pivotal piece of this defense. They will now have a bit of an identity with a pretty solid and underrated defensive line as well. And they're going to walk out of the 1st round with 2 very much foundational pieces of the future. Pick number 11, Cincinnati. We're going to go offensive line here. We've had them moving up for Dwayne Haskins. I could still see that happening, to be honest. But this team, needless to say, needs more offensive line help. They re-signed Bobby Hart at right tackle. Not the answer. I mean, come on. You get Andre Dillard here. Either he can be the, long-term replacement for Cordy Glenn. You're going to start him right away, but that's going to push Bobby Hart into either a guard position or a rotational role where he probably belongs, despite what his contract will tell you. Don't think you're going to get too much complaining here from the Bengals fans. Andre Dillard, one of the best pass-blocking line prospects we've had in several years. Then number 12, Green Bay. I've caught less flack for this pick, as I think I've explained it a little better, but we're going to stick with Greedy Williams here. Yes, Green Bay has thrown a lot of darts at corner in the draft, but if teams like New Orleans and New England have taught us anything, it's that you need 3, 4, even 5 good corners on your roster. It has become, quite frankly, the hardest defensive position to find, If free agency has taught us anything, teams aren't letting corners go. It's a more valuable position nowadays as these quick-hitting passing offenses have neutralized pass rushes. You need more corners. And Green Bay, frankly, has about a corner and a half. Jair Alexander is a fantastic player. Josh Jackson may be able to play, but I think he better projects as a safety. Did not look good as a rookie. And then you have Kevin King. But anything you can get from his hamstrings at this point are house money. So you still need corner if you are Green Bay. So we're going to grab Greedy Williams here. I only have 2 corners in this class that I'm comfortable taking in the first round, rolling out their week 1 and expecting a high level of play, and that's Greedy and Byron Murphy. I think these 2 guys are going to go much higher than expected because of positional demand, positional supply, and all that. Number 13, Miami. If you've been watching my mocks, I have a plan for this team that I love, and we're going to stick with it. We're going to trade down here. Who's trading up? It's going to be the Tennessee Titans. Just going to give up a 3rd round pick, maybe a future 4th or something to make this move. It's a team that has a lot of depth, may be willing to part with some draft picks to get some superstar talent, because there is a player that is a potential superstar at a position of need here, TJ Hawkinson. Marcus Mariota, even Ryan Tannehill, not really known for being great deep presences in the passing game, but TJ Hawkinson will help you run the ball, which we know this team wants to do, but also pass, short to intermediate game, be a mismatch nightmare. If Delanie Walker comes back healthy, great. This team has had a lot of success with 2 tight end sets in the past. I'd expect that to continue, but this also gives you the long-term replacement. Number 14, Atlanta, Jawaan Taylor. If you want to milk this window out with Matt Ryan, you're not going to do it with Ty Sambarillo and Matt Gano at right tackle. You need to buy him time, and Jawaan Taylor is the only tackle left that I'm comfortable starting week 1 at tackle, someone that can at least get in someone's way, which might sound like an insult, but it's actually a lot harder to find tackles that can do that than you might think. With the release of Ryan Schrader, they made this position a desperate need, and you have got to take a tackle in the 1st round if you are the Atlanta Falcons, in my opinion. Otherwise, it's going to be a colossal mistake, and I do think Matt Ryan will get exposed. Number 15, the Washington Redskins. I love this pick. We're going to stick with it. Brian Burns, someone that does still need to develop a little bit, but has crazy upside as a potential number 1 pass rusher down the road. This is a team that's still trying to figure some things out, but they bring in an elite athletic talent to get into that rotation for the pass rush and develop for the future. I'd expect him to be a guy that might not break out as a rookie, but 2-3 years down the road turns into a really, really nice player. Carolina Panthers, 16, Clelin Ferrell. They just need a pass rushing presence. It's a team that's ready to win right now. That's why I like the pick of Ferrell over maybe a more high upside guy like Montez Sweat. Ferrell can plug right in there, and he's a perfect scheme fit for what this team wants to do. Number 17, where Denver traded down, we're going to grab Drew Lock here. Now, I'm kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out on Drew Lock. It's a little earlier than I would like to take him, but it's not the worst situation here. He can sit behind Joe Flacco for a year, maybe even 2. This team doesn't have a ton of holes other than quarterback, so you do really need to keep throwing darts at that quarterback position. The offensive line could be worse. The wide receivers, you probably need 1 more. The running back is solid. The defense is really good. You got to figure out this quarterback position. So moving down here and still getting Drew Lock, a good move here for the Denver Broncos, even though he has some bust potential tendencies. Number 18, the Minnesota Vikings, Cody Ford. This has been the pick. We're going to stick with it. He can plug right in there at guard. He can play tackle if anything happens to the 2 guys you have there, whether they drop off in performance or get injured. I could also see Dalton Reisner here. Really one of the 2 versatile pieces. I just think Cody Ford might have the higher upside. Number 19, where Miami traded down, we're going to grab Jeffery Simmons. I would even love to trade down even further and try to get him later. But I don't know who's moving up here at this moment. That's the thing about trading down. For you YouTube commenters, you can't always do it. Not everyone's looking to move up. I didn't see anyone else that really made sense here. You know, I'm in the GM chair for all 32 teams. I can't just say, oh, they'll trade down here. You got to find a good fit. So they will just take the plan here. Jeffery Simmons at 19. Now, Miami is tanking. Dolphins fans don't want to admit it. They do not want to take a quarterback. I wouldn't want to take a quarterback. I think they're doing things the right way, opening up cap space, setting up for a really, good rebuild here. And Jeffery Simmons is not going to play in his first season, but if he didn't tear his ACL and if this class wasn't absolutely ridiculously loaded in the top 10 with defensive talent, I do think Simmons would normally be a top 10 pick. He's a similar prospect to Fletcher Cox coming out. So they're going to get a position of need here, defensive tackle, a guy that's going to help them lose games and give you an elite talent after you just move down. It's a just slam dunk move. So we're going to stick with it. Number 20, Pittsburgh. Hot take here. We're going to take Blake Cashman. I like him better than Devin Bush. I think his instincts and coverage is better. I think he is better thumping between the tackles as a run defender as well. Maybe some injury concerns there, but I don't know. He stayed pretty healthy for Minnesota. I love this player. It's a name you're not going to hear a lot about, but with that combine, with how good his tape is, I do have a breakdown of him on my Patreon if you are interested in seeing what I have to say about Blake Cashman. But if he goes in the first round, I would not be the least bit surprised, though I know a lot of people would. Number 21, the Seattle Seahawks. I love this pick. We've been sticking with it. Montez Sweat, a guy that I'm not very high on. I think you have incredibly high off-field concerns with this player from work ethic. A guy that's played for 3 different schools. Absolute freak athlete, obviously. Well, Seattle has had success taking guys just like this, even at the same position, like Frank Clark. I know they don't have a lot of picks. I know Seahawks fans want to trade down, but the value here and upside of having an elite pass rushing duo might be too much to pass up if you're the Seahawks. Number 22, the Baltimore Ravens. This is where Devin Bush is going to go from one Harbaugh to the next. You have got to fill that void left by CJ Mosley. While I like Cashman a little bit better, Bush a fantastic cover player. Really good sideline to sideline. Great pick here for Baltimore. Number 23, the Houston Texans. We're going to grab Dalton Reisner here. The plan here would be to play him at right tackle. I actually don't hate the interior guys here for the Texans. They really need tackle help, but there's no one you're really comfortable playing right away. You're going to hope that Reisner can figure it out and play right tackle at the next level. Doesn't have the ideal quickness. Most people see him as a guard, but the dude's just a competitor. He's nasty, and he's going to find a way into the starting lineup, whether it's at tackle or guard. But you do hope that it would be tackle for this team. Number 24, the Oakland Raiders. We're going to take Noah Fant. They officially lost Jared Cook. Derek Carr, not exactly a guy that loves to throw the ball downfield, even though he has the arm talent to do it. Still kind of a check down machine. So Noah Fant, a guy that can just get open in the short game, be a good run after catch guy. You pair him now with Antonio Brown, and defenses are going to have some mismatches to try and defend there. Number 25, the Philadelphia Eagles. I like this pick a lot. Bringing Ronald Darby back, they don't have a glaring need at corner right now. They really don't have any glaring needs on this entire roster. The biggest thing I'm worried about if I'm Philadelphia is the longevity of Carson Wentz, who's had some injuries, and Jason Peters at left tackle, who can still play when he's healthy, but has been beat up quite a bit. He's like 37 years old. You have got to figure out what you're going to do at tackle. It's not Hal Vaitai, I'm sorry. So we're going to take Greg Little. He could be a bust. He definitely could be. But he's going to sit. He's going to learn from Jason Peters, Lane Johnson, and you can steal a really high upside franchise tackle if you play this right. Philly is great at developing talent. I think this could be a really good fit here for Philadelphia. Number 26, Nasir Adderley, fantastic safety. I like him more in the box in more of a Malcolm Jenkins type role, and it's a perfect fit here because it's a need for Indy. They do have some other guys, but they're kind of just guys in my opinion. You got like Farley and Gathers, whatever. They can't cover and play the run like Nasir Adderley can. Put him under Malik Hooker, and you're going to have potentially a Thomas Chancellor-esque combination. A little different types of players, but still a really damn good duo. Number 27, the Oakland Raiders. We're going to take Zach Allen. This has kind of been my guy. Now, he's fallen down a little bit in the draft process, but I still can't imagine letting him fall out of the first round. He is incredibly tactical as a pass rusher. Doesn't have the ideal traits you look for physically. But I will stand by that he is the smartest, most polished pass rusher in this class. Oakland in a 4-3 scheme can figure this thing out with Zach Allen. He could be a really good number 2 pass rusher, which this late in the draft, if you can find a high caliber starter like that, you don't always have to find superstars here. I really also for Oakland just want to go with best player available, safest player available as well, because after trading away some superstar talents, you cannot afford to draft busts here. And I just can't see Zach Allen being a bust. He's just too good of a football player. His tape is just too good. Pick 28, Dexter Lawrence to the Chargers. This has been the pick the whole time. They just need help and nastiness up front. They have a loaded roster with a glaring hole there at nose tackle or just defensive tackle. Lawrence is a freak. I actually think he's a better prospect than Vita Vea was, who went like 12th last year, which was preposterous. The Chargers actually benefited from that, getting Derwin James, who the Bucs should have taken. But anyway, Dexter Lawrence here to the Chargers. Not usually a nose tackle in the first round type of guy for me, but I think it's late in the first and a huge need for the Chargers. At some point, you do actually have to stop the run, even if the importance of doing so is diminished in the modern game. Anyway, pick number 29, the Kansas City Chiefs. Definitely need corner, but with Mitch Morse leaving, I'm a little nervous about the center position, the interior of the offensive line. Sometimes, instead of reaching for guys, it's best to just build on your strength. So Garrett Bradbury is going to be a nasty fit here. Uber athletic center. Think of all of the screens that this Chiefs team likes to run, and like what Jason Kelce does for the Eagles, those highlight blocks downfield. You're going to get that stuff with Garrett Bradbury, just a fantastic high upside center. Pick number 30, the Green Bay Packers. We finally got the first wide receiver coming off the board. Kind of similar to my last mock. There's just a lot of depth at wide receiver, but really no clear-cut like guarantees. I tweeted out that I do think, between these top 12 wide receivers, it's going to be kind of like the 2014 class that gave us just, countless starters after starter. But I do think you can wait, and there will be a run at some point, which I think is about to start right around this point. But I also don't think you need to reach knowing that you can get one later. So the first receiver is going to come off the board here at 30. It's going to be DK Metcalf here to the Green Bay Packers. Metcalf has some serious bust potential, but a guy that can just kind of run, go routes, slants, maybe a hitch, crossing routes, posts. You pair him with a Devontae Adams who has a diversified route tree, and he could be an elite weapon here. Not to mention you pair him with Aaron Rodgers' ball placement. I broke down DK Metcalf here on this channel. I don't think he has the best ability to turn around and find the football, but if you have a quarterback like Rodgers who can just put the ball right where it needs to be, then some of those weaknesses are neutered for DK Metcalf. So a swing for the fences pick here for the Green Bay Packers. Then at number 31, we're actually going to trade down here with the Rams. We're targeting an edge rusher, but I think given the right offer, you can move down here. You're going to pick up the second pick in the 4th round to move down about 5 spots here for the 49ers. 49ers wanting to jump a lot of these teams who are going to be looking at wide receiver. And for the first time in my mocks, we're going to put Kelvin Harmon in the 1st round. Wide receiver out of NC State. Isn't actually ranked as my second best wide receiver, but if you're the 49ers, you've got Dante Pettis who can kind of be that short to intermediate quick route guy. If Marquise Goodwin can be healthy, you've got the deep threat there. Kelvin Harmon, to me, my pro comp for him is Michael Thomas, and San Francisco needs that true number 1 guy, a bigger bodied outside wide receiver. I think Kelvin Harmon is the best if that's what you're looking for. And you pair him with an accurate quarterback like Jimmy Garoppolo, and he can really do some damage. Then pick number 32, New England. We're going to stick with this move. We're going to trade this pick for Josh Rosen. I can't believe some Patriots fans don't like this move. I mean, Josh Rosen, just like any quarterback would have last year, struggled in Arizona, which had just a garbage surrounding core. But he actually had some moments and wasn't terrible. Like, he was much better than Jared Goff was in his first year with the Rams, and my pro comp for Josh Rosen was Jared Goff coming out. You put him here in New England, he's at worst a super cheap backup, but I mean, best case scenario, you've got the quarterback of your future for 20 years who's going to just carry on in this system as a Tom Brady-like player. I would be fired up if I was New England to get Josh Rosen for the last pick in the first round. So Arizona's going to pick up another first-round pick here, and they're going to grab Riley Ridley. Now, it's been Marquise Brown here in the past. I am terrified of injuries with him. Foot injuries in general are just a problem. This Lisfranc fracture was not a minor injury, and I think just these smaller body dude, he's only 165 pounds. Like, I just don't see Marquise Brown staying healthy all the time and necessarily being worth a first-round pick. So we're going to take Riley Ridley, who can be a number 1 wide receiver. I know people don't love his combine grades. I am very high on this player, but he shows me the elite foot quickness to have an elite separation and release at the line of scrimmage, the ability to run all of the routes. Not necessarily a burner after the catch, but a physical player who can make guys miss. Plays a lot like Devontae Adams, was underutilized at Georgia as well. So I love Riley Ridley. I think Arizona's going to get a really nice outside wide receiving threat here. So on to the second round. We've got Arizona right back on the clock. I'm looking at the offensive line. We're going to grab Elgton Jenkins. So you now have a new quarterback, a new wide receiver, and at some point you do have to just upgrade on the offensive line, get more talent in there. So a new center, quarterback, wide receiver trio to lead the way here in Arizona. Number 34, the Indianapolis Colts. Wide receiver, a big need for this team. And I love the fit of A.J. Brown here. A bigger guy, plays a lot in the slot, but does have the upside to play outside as well. Don't think we're going to get a lot of argument here on A.J. Brown. Number 35, the Oakland Raiders. Excellent pick here. I actually had this player going to them in the first, but he's going to fall to them in the early second here. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Like I said, just take guys that can play football. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, a nickel corner, a position that gets a bad rap. I think it's slowly becoming a undervalued position, especially with the way offenses are trending. So I think Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is going to be something close to an elite defender as a nickel corner. For whatever that's worth, I just love him as a player. I think he's going to make a great impact at the next level. Number 36, the Rams, where they move down, they're going to get exactly who I would have taken at 31, Chase Winovich. My comparison, Clay Matthews, under the radar athlete, obviously the long hair, all that, but his game does reflect Clay Matthews. I'm intrigued to see what he can offer in coverage as well, because he's actually really athletic. But hey, Clay Matthews now in LA. He can coach up Chase Winovich and just basically mentor him on how to be the next Clay Matthews, which is not bad in the second round at all. Really speaks to how deep this defensive edge class is. So then number 37, the New York Giants. No secret they need some coverage help. We're going to grab Deandre Baker, who's falling a bit. I like Baker, just don't know if he has the true upside of a true number 1 corner. Would be fine with him in the first, but just falling in this situation. And I think the Giants are probably going to be happy with this draft, getting 3 really good players here, but who knows? A lot of Giants fans still think Eli Manning can play, so who knows? Number 38, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Might seem like a bit of a reach, but Foster Moreau here is my number 3 tight end. Basically everything I said about helping them run the ball. Nick Foles loves throwing to tight ends. Foster Moreau can really do it all. Is a really nice player, and I think a sleeper in this class. Number 39, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We're going to double dip here at corner. I like the double dip strategy. If you have a need, the worst thing you can do is just assume that you hit on any pick, because as much as we'd like to say we do, we don't really know for sure any of this. So Julian Love, really solid corner out of Notre Dame. Similar to DeAndre Baker, don't know if he has the elite upside as a corner, but I could see it. So Tampa Bay really going to beef up that secondary and just add a lot of talent where it's needed. Number 40, the Buffalo Bills. We're going to grab Parris Campbell. Time to start addressing the offense. Interesting fit here. A guy that can help Josh Allen out a little bit in the short game where he does struggle a little bit. Just get the ball in his hands, screens, slants, let him make guys miss and create after the catch. But he does have upside as a deep threat with elite speed with that great arm of Josh Allen. Was a little underutilized at Ohio State in that regard. I think he very well could be a deep threat as well at the next level. And I think Buffalo to this point might be winning the draft. I love Parris Campbell. He is actually my wide receiver 3. But again, all these wide receivers, it really just depends on what kind of player you need, because 1 through 11, a lot of these guys are just really good wide receivers. Pick number 41, Taylor Rapp to the Denver Broncos. They need some help at safety. I know you got Justin Simmons there, but Taylor Rapp is just a baller. A little underwhelming workout scores, which I think will push him into the second, but has fantastic tape. Would really round out that secondary for the Broncos. Pick 42, the Cincinnati Bengals. We're going to go with another offensive lineman, Michael Dieter, a guy that actually reminds me a bit of Kevin Zeitler, also out of Wisconsin. Honestly surprised his name hasn't come up a little bit more than it has, but a really solid player. I would be even more excited about the Bengals' offensive capabilities next year with these 2 new offensive linemen. I've already kind of looked at the Bengals as a bit of an under-the-radar team next year that I think a lot of people expect to just be really bad. I don't know if that's going to be the case, especially if you beef up this offensive line with 2 players that I really like. Pick 43, the Detroit Lions. They let Glover Quinn go. Long-time free safety for them, so let's grab Deionte Thompson, a similar player out of Alabama. A name that's kind of been forgotten because he's not a freak athlete, but can cover, a good tackler. He's somewhat of a cross, I think, between Eddie Jackson and HaHa Clinton-Dix. Number 44, the Green Bay Packers. We're going to double dip again here, grabbing Andy Isabella. Let's get the Green Bay Packers back to the 2011, 2012, where they had 4 or 5 deep at wide receiver. You put 2 absolute burners here together, DK Metcalf, Andy Isabella. We know you got Devontae Adams there, but I don't really, truly believe in anyone else there. Valdez-Scantling to me is a wide receiver 4 or 5, just a deep threat. And then, I like Equanimeous St. Brown, but this team doesn't have time to sit around and wait on a 21-year-old guy to develop that they took in like the 5th or 6th round last year. And I think the defensive backs in the NFC North would be trembling at the thought of having to cover all these guys. Pick number 45, the Atlanta Falcons. This is a team that's been built on a lot of speed and just technicians. But let's put Christian Wilkins in there. We grabbed an offensive tackle in the first. Let's beef up the Atlanta Falcons a little bit. Really like this draft strategy for the Falcons. Number 46, the Washington Redskins. We're going to grab Amani Oruwariye. Lengthy, physical, really quick corner. I like his game a lot. I think he would benefit from playing with Josh Norman, and he fits this physical style of the Washington Redskins on defense that we've talked quite a bit about on this channel. Number 47, the Carolina Panthers. We're going to grab N'Keal Harry. We know that Cam Newton likes those big-bodied wide receivers. I think N'Keal Harry is a much better version of Kelvin Benjamin. Quicker feet, does have some rack ability, really good catch and traffic guy. You like what they have in DJ Moore, but they could really use another wide receiver threat. Number 48, the Miami Dolphins. Dre'Mont Jones. Love this pick. Actually was mocking him in the first to Miami after trading down, but we replaced that idea with Jeffery Simmons. And Dre'Mont's stock has fallen just a little bit after not wowing people with his combine grades. But his tape is really impressive. He is super quick. And what I like most here is he fits that Belichickian kind of versatile defensive line prospect. He could gain weight and be an interior guy, be like a Deshaun Hand from last year, or he could lose weight. I think he has some similar traits to Cameron Jordan for the Saints as an edge rusher as well. And I think Brian Flores in that multiple scheme is going to love a guy like Dre'Mont Jones. You're going to start to get more of an identity here up front for the Miami Dolphins. The Cleveland Browns at 49, their first pick of the draft, and they're going to get a bit of a steal here. Juwan Thornhill, player I really like. Super athletic, box safety, nickel corner type. I like Demarius Randall there at free safety, but this is going to replace the Jabril Peppers role, and I think he has a chance to actually be a better player than Jabril Peppers was. So for a team that traded away their first-round pick for Odell Beckham, to get Juwan Thornhill here in the second is not a bad haul for this team that's going to have a lot of hype heading into next year. Number 50, the Minnesota Vikings. We're going to grab Jerry Tillery. Could really become a household name, a guy that does need to develop a little bit, but a big need here for Minnesota. After Linval Joseph, who is actually a little older too, you don't really have an answer there on the interior. Tillery could really develop into a nice player here under Mike Zimmer. Number 51, Chris Lindstrom here to the Tennessee Titans. They let both their guards go. You got an older Brett Jones there at center. He can play any of those 3 positions. He can move a little bit, be a good piece in the play action for this team. as interior line has become a need for this Titans team. Pick 52, Rock Ya-Sin here to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm a little lower on Ya-Sin. Just don't know if he has the physical upside, but a nice physical player, at least in terms of his play style. Pittsburgh does need some better corners. They got a lot of athleticism on that defense, but I don't know if they have a lot of smart players. I think Rock Ya-Sin actually could turn into a Joe Hayden type of player if everything goes correctly. Joe Hayden, of course, being a guy that fell a little bit in the draft because of a lack of athleticism. And then 53, one of the steals of the draft here, Josh Jacobs to the Philadelphia Eagles. After they, took a bit of a risk in the first with Greg Little, well, you get a home run pick here, Josh Jacobs, who just falls because he's a running back, runs a 4.6 40, has some injury concerns. I would bet that injury played into that slower 40. I thought he was a little faster than 4.6, but a really good running back, and I know they traded for Jordan Howard, but Josh Jacobs, another player I have a film review of on my Patreon. Honestly, a little surprised I didn't feel the need to take him earlier, but I do think a lot of teams kind of already have their running backs. Definitely a first-round talent here in Josh Jacobs. Then the Houston Texans. We're going to grab Deebo Samuel here. I know they've got Will Fuller. They've got Kiki Kuti. Watching this team, I know the offensive line's a problem, but I don't really have any value at offensive line left here, so maybe you just trade down. But Deebo's a fantastic player. He can come in and play in the slot. He can play a little bit outside. He offers more of a physical presence that you don't get in Kiki Kuti and Will Fuller. Fuller also just hasn't really been able to stay healthy. So I think this just gives this receiving core that last piece it needs. You got DeAndre Hopkins, and then you got three other guys that can really just play in spurts. And then corner, a big need for this Texans team as well. So at number 55, we're going to grab Kendall Sheffield. Now I actually have a third-round grade on Sheffield. Really inconsistent tape, but just a freak athlete. You hope you can surround him with this pass rush, some of these other guys in the secondary, a veteran guy like Jonathan Joseph, and hope that he can reach that upside because this team really does need some help at corner. And then New England, we're going to grab Jonathan Abram. One thing Bill Belichick definitely values is the ability to tackle, and I think he just coaches it better than a lot of people, but if you look at like PFF grades, the tackle grades for their defenders are just off the charts compared to the rest of the league. But anyway, Jonathan Abram is just an absolute heat seeker. Love his game. Not the best guy in coverage. That's why I have him falling a little bit. But he's a guy that can sit behind Patrick Chung, who's not getting any younger, and just kind of be the heir apparent to that role in this defense. Then number 57. I don't know how Eagles fans are going to feel about this one, but Daniel Jones here to the Eagles. Now, let me be clear. I'm as big of a Carson Wentz supporter as anyone. I think he's going to bounce back and play like the MVP that he is next year. But there's no denying he has had health issues, and there's also no denying that Howie Roseman understands player value. He held on to Nick Foles as an expensive backup, frankly, longer than he should have. He's going to understand that you get Daniel Jones here on a cheap 4-year contract. That is a good backup for a quarterback that has injury questions for 4 years. And then you develop him, you maybe show him in a couple weeks, 17 games, some preseasons, and you flip him for a late second, maybe even an early first, depending on how well he develops. And his play style in general just fits this offense. He's mobile like Carson Wentz. So then staying in the NFC East, the Dallas Cowboys, we're going to grab Jace Sternberger here out of Texas A&M. I think tight end is a position that would really benefit this offense. They have some wide receivers now, but Dak Prescott just a little inaccurate downfield. I think having a tight end who can run block, who is a good run after the catch threat. I know they got Jason Witten back, but he can help coach up Jace Sternberger. I just put Dallas Goedert to the Cowboys in my 2018 redraft. I think they would have loved to have a player like that. Sternberger has the potential to be something like that here at the end of the second. Number 59, the Indianapolis Colts. We are going to grab a running back here. Darrell Henderson can be great in the receiving game. They have a bunch of dudes, but the guys that they put in kind of tell what they're going to do, and I'm not a big Marlon Mack guy either. Darrell Henderson, that versatile piece. Frank Reich, deviating from that original Andy Reid scheme, kind of can play the Kareem Hunt ability where he can just do everything for this offense. Would love to go corner here, but I'm just not comfortable with anyone left on the board. So let's just grab a true impact player here in Darrell Henderson. Then number 60, I tweeted this one out. Ryan Finley to the Chargers. Low-key like my favorite pick in this whole draft. Phillip Rivers, an NC State guy. You listen to Ryan Finley talk. He's got that kind of southern accent. Super similar type of player. Like he doesn't have a cannon arm just like Phillip Rivers, but he's accurate downfield. Phillip's been kind of stubborn to develop some of these guys, but I think he would love to coach up Ryan Finley. And they need someone to just kind of be in that building to show some kind of a future down the road. Not saying they need to replace Phillip Rivers immediately, but that is an imminent future. So I love this pick for the Chargers. Number 61, the Kansas City Chiefs. We're going to grab Marquise Brown here. Falling here because of those injury concerns. I don't know if he's going to fall this far. It would not surprise me. If his medicals don't go very well, I don't know many teams that want to take a guy that is consistently going to play 8-9 games every year. Now, this is an insurance on Tyreek Hill, who we don't really know what's going on there. But you look at the depth chart at wide receiver here, they need other guys. They got Sammy Watkins, but he's not even healthy all the time. They just let Chris Conley go. Like, wide receiver, believe it or not, is a need for the Chiefs. So I know the Chiefs are going to go crazy here, going offense with their first two picks. But sometimes you just got to build around your strength, as opposed to reaching for guys that I don't know if are necessarily worth it. If you're scoring 50 points a game, I think you can figure out some things defensively and make it work. So then number 62 here, the New Orleans Saints. We're going to grab Will Grier. I know they've got Teddy Bridgewater there, but this isn't unlike what the Patriots did when they had Jacoby Brissett, they had Jimmy Garoppolo. You want to figure out what you're going to do after the Drew Brees era, and with the way they've structured that cap, they seem to be all in this year, and maybe this could be Drew Brees' last year if you're unaware. Next year, Drew Brees' cap hits like $41 million or something. So you just bring in a lot of competition. They don't have a lot of holes. Can maybe look at like a guard or a wide receiver here. But I think it's smart to look for the future a little bit here. And this is a team that could totally develop Will Grier into a starter down the road. And then pick 63, the Chiefs are going to take a risk here. They let both their edge rushers go. We're going to take Ja'Kai Polite. This is a team that has taken chances on guys with character issues in the past. Now, Polite, I don't think he has like domestic violence potential or like drug issues. He just is kind of an unlikable dude by all accounts. His draft stock has just completely fallen off a cliff. His weight has fluctuated. His workout grades have been terrible, but his tape is ridiculous. There was a time where he was my number 2 edge rusher behind Nick Bosa. So if you can get that out of him, this helps you justify taking offensive players a little more with your first 2 picks. If all of these guys pan out for the Chiefs, it's going to be a hell of a draft. The upside is ridiculous for all 3 of those picks. And then number 64, the last pick here, a total New England Patriot type player, Sutton Smith to the New England Patriots, a versatile outside linebacker. He's basically another Kyle Van Noy type who can rush the passer, cover. His movement skills are fantastic. I mean, this is a guy that if Bill Belichick was just like, I want him, I'm taking him in the first round, it wouldn't surprise me because he really is that great of a fit for what Bill Belichick looks for in defensive players. So that's going to do it. It was a mega mock draft. If you made it this far, please hit that like button. It helps me out more than you know, helps grow the channel. So cheers as always, and we'll see you next time. Peace out.